The candle flickered, its flame trembling as if it knew the night was doomed. I stood in the kitchen, hands still dusted with flour, staring at the table I'd spent hours perfecting, a spread of her favorite dishes, each one a silent plea for the connection we'd lost. The clock ticked past 8, then 9, and with every passing minute, the hope I'd poured into this evening curdled into dread. My phone buzzed, her name lighting up the screen. I'm too tired. Can we do this another night? The words hit like a punch, hollowing out my chest. I didn't reply. I didn't go home. The idea had sparked that morning, born from a desperate need to bridge the growing chasm between us. Sarah and I had been married for 6 years, but lately, she felt like a stranger sharing my bed. Her smiles were rare, her touches fleeting, and her eyes always seemed to be somewhere else. I thought a romantic evening might remind us of the early days, when we'd laugh over cheap wine and dream about a future that felt infinite. So I planned. I left work early, scoured the market for fresh ingredients, and spent hours crafting a dinner that screamed "I still love you." Rosemary roasted chicken, her favorite garlic mashed potatoes, a bottle of the Pinot Noir we drank on our honeymoon. I even set out the good plates, the ones we saved for special occasions, and lit candles that cast a warm glow across our small dining room. I texted her at noon, a playful nudge. Got something special planned tonight? Be home by 7? Her reply was a single word. Sure. It wasn't much, but it was enough to keep me going, to fuel the fragile hope that we could still fix this. I imagined her walking through the door, her tired eyes softening at the sight of the table, maybe even reaching for my hand. I clung to that image as I chopped, stirred, and waited. By 7:30, the house was quiet except for the hum of the oven keeping the food warm. I checked my phone, nothing. I sent another text, light and casual. Running late? Dinner's ready when you are. No response. The minutes dragged, each one heavier than the last. At 8:15 I called her. Straight to voicemail. My mind spun with excuses. She was stuck in traffic, her phone died, work held her up. But a darker thought gnawed at me, one I tried to shove down. What if she's not coming because she doesn't want to? When her text finally came at 9:02, it was a knife. I'm too tired. Can we do this another night? I stared at the words, my thumb hovering over the keyboard, searching for a response that wouldn't betray the hurt clawing at my insides. I wanted to ask where she was, why she couldn't call, why she didn't care enough to show up. But I didn't. Instead, I turned off the stove, blew out the candles and grabbed my coat. The food sat untouched, a monument to my wasted effort. I couldn't stay in that house, surrounded by the ghosts of a night that never happened. I drove aimlessly at first, the city lights blurring through the windshield. My phone stayed silent, and with every mile, the questions grew louder. Where was she? Why was she always so distant? The past few months replayed in my mind, her late nights at the office, her vague answers about her day, the way she'd flinch when I tried to hold her. I'd chalked it up to stress, to her demanding job as a marketing consultant, but now doubt festered like an open wound. I pulled into a diner, one of those 24-hour places with flickering neon signs and coffee that tasted like regret. The waitress, a woman with tired eyes and a kind smile, slid a mug in front of me. Rough night? She asked, her voice soft but curious. You could say that, I muttered, staring into the black liquid. I didn't want to talk, but the silence was worse. Ever put your heart into something, and it just doesn't matter? She nodded, wiping the counter. More times than I can count. You want to tell me about it? I didn't, not really, but the words spilled out anyway. I told her about the dinner, about Sarah's text, about the sinking feeling that something was wrong, really wrong. The waitress listened, her expression a mix of sympathy and something else, like she'd heard this story before. When I finished, she leaned in, her voice low. You sure she's just tired? The question hit like a spark in dry grass. I didn't answer, but it burned in my mind as I paid and left. I couldn't go home, not yet. Instead, I drove to Sarah's office, telling myself I just needed to see her car in the lot, to know she was really working late. But the parking lot was empty, the building dark. My stomach twisted. I called her again, voicemail. I texted. Where are you? No reply. I don't know why I went to her friend Lauren's apartment. Maybe because Lauren was the only one Sarah still talked about. the one she'd meet for drinks after work. Maybe because I needed answers, and my gut told me I'd find them there. The building was a few blocks from the office, a sleek high-rise with a doorman who barely glanced at me as I slipped inside. I took the elevator to the 5th floor, my heart pounding so hard I thought it might crack my ribs. Lauren's door was at the end of the hall. I knocked softly at first, then harder. No answer. I was about to leave when I heard it, a laugh, muffled but unmistakable. Sarah's laugh. The sound I used to live for, now a blade in my chest. I knocked again louder, and the door swung open. Lauren stood there, her expression shifting from confusion to panic. Behind her, Sarah sat on the couch, a glass of wine in her hand, her face flushed. And next to her, too close, was a man I didn't know. Mark. Sarah's voice was a mix of shock and guilt. She stood, the wineglass trembling in her hand. "What are you doing here?" "I could ask you the same thing," I said, my voice steady despite the storm inside me. The man on the couch shifted, his eyes darting between us. He was polished, too polished, with a tailored suit and a smile that didn't reach his eyes. "Mark, this isn't," Sarah started, but I cut her off. "Don't," I said. "Don't lie to me. Not now." The room was suffocating, the air thick with unspoken truths. Lauren mumbled something about giving us space and disappeared into the kitchen. The man, his name was Ethan, I'd later learn, stood, offering a hand I didn't take. "Look, man, I don't want trouble," he said, his voice smooth, practiced. "Trouble?" I laughed, a bitter sound. "You're sitting here with my wife." Sarah's eyes filled with tears, but I couldn't tell if they were real or just another performance. "Mark, I didn't mean for this to happen," she said. "It just did." "How long?" I asked, my voice breaking. "How long have you been lying to me?" She looked away, her silence louder than any confession. Ethan stepped forward, like he thought he could fix this. "It's not her fault," he said. "We work together, things just—" "Shut up," I snapped, my hands curling into fists. I wanted to hit him, to scream, to tear the world apart, but all I could do was stand there, drowning in the wreckage of my marriage. I left before I did something I'd regret. The drive back to our house was a blur, my mind replaying every moment, every sign I'd ignored. The late nights, the excuses, the way she'd stopped saying, "I love you" first. When I got home, the table was still set, the candles burned down to stubs. I sat in the dark, the weight of her betrayal crushing me. I didn't cry. I didn't yell. I just sat there, letting the truth sink in. The woman I loved was gone, and I didn't know if she'd ever really been mine. In the morning, I'd pack a bag and leave. Not forever, not yet, but I couldn't stay in a house that felt like a lie. Sarah would call, she'd beg, she'd promise to change, but I wasn't sure I'd answer. Trust, once broken, doesn't mend easily. And as I stared at the cold, untouched dinner, I realized I hadn't just lost a night. I'd lost the future I thought we'd share.